Hi everyone. We are back in the strategies section, which is the dark orange colored section in the middle of our book. We've already covered 3 chapters in this section: describing, dialogue, and narrating, because all of these strategies were utilized for your literacy narrative, and you should continue to go back to them because your literacy narrative final copy is due this coming Sunday. But right now we're talking about beginning and ending, particularly in relation to more academic essays, such as analysis and argument, which are the next 2 that you're writing. So we're now moving, like I just said, into writing persuasive academic essays, essays that do not use the first person nearly as much as narrative essays, that don't tell a story, but that actually create and work to convince your audience for your side or your position in a particular topic. You can, of course, use first person occasionally in these kinds of essays, but you must be cautious that you are using it sparingly and wisely. As you know by now, in the strategy section of our text, the authors provide examples of paragraphs that exemplify the specific strategies they discuss. And we've seen that with describing, narrating, and dialogue in this section. We continue to see this pattern in the beginning and ending section. These paragraphs, for instance, the introduction paragraph at the bottom of page 373, or the intro paragraph at the end of page 376, all of them give you ideas for your own essays within the different categories. So you're welcome to read in depth the beginning and ending paragraphs, although I'm not discussing them in depth in these lectures, but they're there to help you provide guidelines or ideas, like I said, for your own beginnings and endings. This chapter does cover quite a few ways to introduce and conclude your paper, and I will cover in this slideshow the ways that I think will work best. And I do combine some of the ideas from the chapter. So I'm going to combine ideas and talk about the 6 ideas for an introduction and the 5 ideas for a conclusion that I think you can utilize effectively. So here are the first 3 ways to introduce an analysis or an argument paper. That is, to write your introduction paragraph. The first way is to explore the immediate or historical context of your topic. That is, what conversation is your topic a part of? We've used that word conversation a lot this semester. How would historical background information entice your audience into the paper? Or how would something immediate, that is, some current event, or something going on currently or not in the far past, how would that help us understand your topic as you're moving forward? The second idea is to define key terms or concepts. Although you may wish to do this in the first body paragraph rather than the introduction, doing so in the introduction is a good way to start if you think such a definition will help your audience feel more compelled to read your paper. And then another way to introduce your paper is, if you know what your readers value in your topic, connect their values to your topic. So for instance, one of the ads for your advertisement analysis that you can choose from is an ad for the World Wildlife Fund. And if you know that most people in your audience connect to conservation of the environment, and particularly conservation of animals that are endangered, then you could talk a little bit about that in your introduction as a way to compel your readers to read further. Now, here are the final 3 ways I have in this slideshow to create an introduction for your paper. Number 4 is to start with a captivating statement or brief anecdote that will lure your audience into the paper. So for instance, if you choose to analyze the McDonald's advertisement, you could write a brief anecdote about a trip to McDonald's that you had, where you used Wi-Fi, which is what that ad is about. or where you didn't use Wi-Fi, but the anecdote talks about the popularity of McDonald's. Number 5 is to ask a question that the reader should ponder and then connect the question to the rest of the introduction paragraph. So the question would be the first sentence of your paper, and that question could be something provocative. So, for instance, you could ask a question in the first sentence of your paper about the marriage advertisement, such as, why is the marriage rate in the United States at only 50%? Or why do 50% of all couples get divorced? And then you could go on and answer that question from what you know culturally, and then move into your thesis about the ad. And then number 6 is to forecast your organization, briefly outline the way you're going to proceed in your paper. So number 6 is more used for longer papers. I would say numbers 1 through 5 are the best possibilities for this paper, and even for your next paper, which is to write a position on a particular issue. And finally, we have conclusions, or the ending of your paper. So what should you do in your conclusion? Do not just rewrite your thesis. You could summarize your central idea, but in different words. You can discuss the implications of your argument for the future, for other people, or for humanity in general. So you could talk more about the future of conservation, or the future of the ocean, or the future of sharks, something like that, depending on which ad you choose, of course. You could end with another anecdote that gives us pause to relate to the rest of the paper and understand it better. So you could end with an anecdote about marriage, or about animals, or about McDonald's, some small story that will kind of close us out and provide that sense of closure. You could refer to the ideas you brought up in the introduction paragraph, which is called an echo effect. That is, you're echoing back to things that you've already written about. And then finally, you could propose some action. That one more applies, I think, to an argument paper where you propose what we should do about the topic or the subject of the argument that you've made. So the first 4 are more common for writing an analysis paper like you're doing. So that is beginning and ending, some suggestions on how to write your introduction paragraph and how to write your conclusion paragraph. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.